All right, everyone. I'm so excited about today's show. I have a really incredible guest. Her name is Celinne Da Costa. In fact, she's so magical, and I'm more than honored to have her on the show because she not only understands what a sexy brand is, she also understands how to tell your story, how to make your story impactful. Celinne is a coach, a strategist. She's also an NLP master. And if you know anything about that, that means they put in hundreds and hundreds of hours to truly learn about how to help people break through their own shit and to get into their best self. So without any further ado, Celinne, welcome to the Help Me Rhonda Show.
Thank you. That was quite the introduction. I was like, ooh.
Who's on the show today? So great to have you. I mean, really, truly, I'm excited to really chat about what you do and how you do it because it's funny. You may not even know this. You met my husband, Brian, right?
I did.
And you live in Bali now.
Yes.
And so you and Brian and my daughter, Hanalei, met with one of the kings. We're having a little event,
Yes,
right?
A dinner, yes.
Yeah, like a dinner. And so I didn't know that. Like I knew they went, knew nothing about, that you had met necessarily. And then I was researching others that just do great things, right? Because I want amazing people to come to the show, to share with our audience about truly how to find your truest self. Because I truly believe in building a brand that is full of heart and integrity and authenticity. And I was just looking through and you were somehow connected to someone, I read an article that you wrote in Forbes and I want to talk about that today too. And I said, oh my goodness. And I reached out to you and I'm like, wow. And you go, yeah, I met your husband like a couple weeks ago. And I'm like, Brian.
I didn't know that you guys didn't know. Like,
I know, I didn't. So it was really, really cool.
Wow, it was destined.
Yeah, it is, right? So why don't you do this? Let's start with you and where you started. I mean, you are really truly about helping people build their brands and tell their story. How did that start? And like, who do you really help and what's the motivation behind that journey?
So I work with leaders and my mission is to help them create powerful, shareable stories that grow their business and also themselves, right? Because as you know, your business is a reflection of yourself in many, many ways. And so my mission is really to help people unlock their story from really their soul and then be able to take that story and turn it into a powerful, authentic brand that they can share to pull in the right people, to pull in the right business and also grow a business, as you said, with integrity and with a lot of heart.
Okay, I love that. Everyone that's watching this are like, oh my God, they were supposed to meet a long time ago.
Yes.
Because I'm truly about that too. So how did that start for you? I know that you did quite a journey, right, to get you to this point. And so share about that travel journey that you took and why and what came out of that. You know?
Yes, absolutely. So I've always been really fascinated with brands, period, just to kind of before the journey. And I was working in New York City for a few years as a brand strategist for an advertising agency. So I've always had this fascination of communication and how does the person who we actually are and how we interact with the outer world, like where is that gap? How do we bridge that? And that's always been really fascinating to me. I studied communication in university, so that's always been on my radar. So a few years into my time in New York City, so one of the things that's worth mentioning that always shocks people is I am not American. I am actually from Italy. Oh, right. So I grew from Rome.
Okay.
So I was a multinational
Italian background as well. From family from Calabria. So.
Ooh, okay, that explains like the sultry eyes. Okay, I get it now. I'm seeing things pieced together. And so yeah, I as a child I grew up in Italy and I came to the States when I was around 10. Okay. And the reason why this is important is because I grew up with this concept of the American dream. Like work really, really hard, make it, prove to yourself and to your family and to everyone that you're the immigrant that made it, that goes to corporate, that makes a lot of money, that is able to pull themselves up by the bootstraps. So I really grew up with this this dream that was
this identity, really.
Yes,
right? It's like how do I see myself?
Yes, and I air quote it
want me to be seen as, right?
Yes, because and I air quote it because it wasn't my dream. It was a dream that was imposed upon me since I was a child and something that I worked really, really hard to essentially live up to. And so I, end up going through getting great grades, going to one of the best universities in the U.S. And then I got to corporate, and I'm in one of like the sexiest ad agencies in, you know, the New York City ad agencies. And I'm like,
it's like,
ha ha ha, like I'm hot shit. Like here I am, right? And then I'm there for a few years, and it becomes abundantly clear that I am miserable, and I've been hiding and hiding and pushing, which I think is something a lot of us digital entrepreneurs, like we really all connect, is this point in our lives where we're like, this is suffocating. This is not what I really want. And my life feels void of purpose. And so I had a series of events happen to me, which I can go into, but for the sake of this story, I had a series of domino events happen to me on my last year in New York City, including my grandfather's death. I did not get a promotion I was expecting. My rent skyrocketed. I got broken up with on my birthday, like pop, like one hit after the other. And I just realized, you know what? I need to change my life.
Wow.
It's time.
I mean, so think about how many, let's just say Americans, right? Because that's, you know, a lot of my audience is Americans, but really most of the public around the world, you know, we find ourselves getting stuck in these moments, in these times. And I always call it like the sliding door, right? Something happens and you feel like, oh, this is the worst thing that could ever happen in my life. But then after you go, wow, I'm so glad that happened. You know, like, it's almost like the universe or whatever you want to call it, right? If you're religious, it's, you know, whatever that might be, shows up for you. And you're like, why are you doing this to me? Like, why me? And then you go, oh, but why not me? Thank you. Because it allows us to open through. It's like a sliding door. So did that happen for you? Like, what was that moment?
Yes.
Is it almost like you saw a future for yourself?
I literally just, it was a moment. It was a click. Where I had just gotten back from my trip. I was in Cambodia. I basically took my 2-week classic, right? And especially if your audience is American, like, oh, like, let me, you know, feel better about myself. I'm going to go to you know, like volunteer for my only 2 weeks of the year. And I chose to go volunteer in an orphanage in Cambodia. So again, I could reconnect to that feeling of purpose that I was so hungry to find. And then essentially the day after I returned, it was right after my grandfather died. I just, in 2 weeks, just absorbing like all this misery and this poverty. And all of a sudden I get to New York City, and I'm just hit with this reality of, I can't do this anymore. I'm hiding. If I remember distinctly thinking to myself that if I keep going like this, I'm just gonna die inside. And I couldn't. I said, I have to change. Things have to change. And I have no idea what that change looks like, but it's either uncertainty and hope for something better, or I'm going to die inside. And to me, that level of pain was so strong that that day I committed. It was September 2015, and I said, today, I'm changing my life. And 9 months later, I was on a one-way ticket to Europe, and I decided to essentially, at first I was looking for jobs in Europe, and then I realized this is a Band-Aid solution. And then I was looking for different industries in Europe, and I was like, still a Band-Aid solution. I was interviewing with Google and Facebook, like really high-end jobs in Europe. And I was like, still feel empty. And I said, what if I just scratch everything that I think I'm supposed to do and just actually ask myself, what do I want? And the answer was, I want to write, I want to meet people, and I want to travel. And so there began a reverse engineering journey of, how do I create what I want? How do I manifest? How do I actually get in the driver's seat of my life and do this? And from there was born an idea to do a social experiment in which I would challenge myself to circumnavigate the world, so New York to New York, by couch surfing, not using the website, but by using human connection.
Wow.
So are you familiar with...
you just gave me goosebumps. Look at my whole body.
Yeah. So are you familiar with the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, where we're connected?
Of course. Yeah, right.
So that was the principle. It was, can I actually find my way around the world, finding people that are connected to me by some degree somehow, and just stay with them and interact with them and live with them. And so the journey was that. And I spent a year.
Tell us how you did that. Hold on. So first off, I want to backtrack. So here we are, boom, you're trying to think, you leave corporate to go back into corporate because you're like, well, maybe if I change my location, I can still work the same way, but I'll just feel better because now I'm in Europe and I'm not in New York.
Yes.
That didn't work.
No.
Right? How many of us do that, right? We just think we're just band-aiding, band-aid, band-aid, band-aid. It's going to be better. Let me rip this one off and start a new one, right?
Yeah.
The sore is still there. But you tapped really more into your intuition.
Yeah.
And you listened. And I don't know how many people that I speak with that say, yeah, I just had to stop. And you're in busy New York lifestyle, right? And that's hard to stop and actually get connected. Do you think that by moving away and slowing down a bit from all of the expectations of Italy and the family and the immigrant and that story and that push from New York, do you think that allowed you to calm down, to listen to your intuitions, or was that always something that you were aware of but you hadn't really tuned into? So I think that's important for people to identify that where they could be in moments in their life where that sliding door or that moment where they're like, hold on, let me just, what do I want? Like, listen to yourself.
So what happened to me is not the advice that I would give.
Okay.
It's two separate things. And I actually had a mentor who gave me this advice even before this happened. And he said to me, because he made some really incredible decisions in his life, and I asked him, how did you have the guts to do this? And he was like, Celine, I was driven by pain. But don't allow that to be your reason. Allow it to be passion.
Yeah, that's right.
And so what really broke me was pain. And I was like, I must listen to my intuition. I must. However, I want to caveat that was essentially my rock bottom. It was my like, whoa, things have to change because I'm in too much pain. But since then, I've made some incredible shifts, understanding this, that you can pivot out of passion and not allow yourself to get to that place. Because I think a lot of people, and I myself include myself in this, a lot of people allow basically everything to crumble, everything to get to a point where you're like, this is unbearable. I must change it. However, when you get into the driver's seat of your story, when you really start listening to yourself, you don't have to get there. You can catch yourself when the warnings, the symptoms show up. Yeah. And so, yes.
Yeah, it's beautiful because we either lean heavier towards pain or we go, towards pleasure. And that's why we have so many addictions, all these problems, right? Because we, as a society, haven't actually learned to go, wait, why do I have to go to the far edge? Why do I have to numb myself on heavy pleasure, whether it's food, drinking, drugs, whatever, right? Exactly. Or why do I have to actually endure pain before I make change, right? Yes. I think that's a beautiful way to look at it, because I always want my audience to notice where they are in this moment. Like, where are you now? And that's where I call it sexy brands, right? Yes. A sexy brand evolves because you finally start making decisions because you really are that brand. So you made this decision. Now here you are. You're taking this this travel. How did you do that? Now you're clean. You're clear. Your mind is open. You're like, okay, I'm just going to see what happens. How did you start doing that? Like, how did you actually start physically connecting these dots? Because I want to hear about this travel. How did you do that? Because I know that travel turned into writing for Forbes, and it turned into you helping others find their story because you finally found it. Yes. Right?
Yes, exactly. So my strategy was, and mind you, everything as it was happening, I know now I'm like very calm about it, but as it was happening, I want to honor the fact that I was freaking out.
Yeah, okay. See, that's good. This is true honesty. It's like she didn't just have
like,
this.
I know, like now I'm like, oh, whatever, it's done. But that's because hindsight is 20/20.
That's
and
right.
now I'm
that's
so grateful.
Right. Yeah.
But in the time, I want to honor this because I think a lot of people, they see like people who are on the other side and they're all smooth and they have the success.
Yeah.
But in the moment where you say, I want to change my life, I want to pivot, I want to start a new business, or I want to do this project, or I want to let go of something that it hasn't been serving me for a long time. There's a lot of fear and there's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of all the feels. Yeah. But what matters is not whether the fear is present or not, but how you choose to deal with it and how you choose to move past and respond. Yeah. And that is something I became aware of. And I was like, I'm scared, I'm uncertain, I don't know what's happening, but what I do know is I need to change my life and no one's going to do it for me. Yeah. And so, but people will help me. Yeah. And so what can I do right now? And so what I committed to was for at least 6 months, I gave myself a 6 to 9 month buffer based on the money that I had saved up. And I said, for a minimum 6 months, I commit to waking up every day and really doing what drives me. Like just doing what sets my soul on fire, no matter what, no matter how financially scary it feels, no matter how uncertain, even though I have no idea what's on the other side. Will I go back to corporate? I don't know. And at the time, the inkling, me building my own business wasn't even like an idea that was allowed to exist.
So
I
this, I
had
love
no
this.
idea.
This is how things emerge, right?
Yes.
So you just dove in.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? Worst case
Yeah.
scenario, I travel for 6 months. I use, because I am a branding expert, I use these 6 months, pivot myself, get a higher paying job in New York City.
Yeah, right.
And now
Just
I'm in the same
reposition
exact
myself.
place,
Yeah.
making more money.
Yeah, sure.
And so that was my worst case scenario.
right.
Let me just try this.
Yeah.
And so I go off into the world, and this is my goal: meet people, write, travel. And so I made a list of the top places I've always wanted to see in my life.
Yes.
You know, people have this bucket list and they don't get through it for 20 years.
Yeah.
I said, here's all the places I've always wanted to go. I'm knocking them out this year. So, and everything in between are the strings, will be the people who say, oh, I'm here. And I'll just use the 10 countries to guide my circumnavigation, but everything in between I'm open to. So it was half flexible, half planned.
Yeah.
I started to reach out to people and be like, hey, I'm doing this project. Here's my story. Here's my mission. And this is where I started to see the power. So that was my first taste of the power of story.
Right. Okay.
Because you tell the right story.
Yeah.
You say what you want. You voice it with passion. And all of a sudden, people are interested.
Yeah, because most people are afraid to tell their story, aren't they?
Uh-huh.
Maybe they're not afraid to like say a story.
Yes.
But they're afraid to tell
Their
the depth of
story.
the story and how to get through it. So that's how you started tapping. So you
Yes.
circumvented it all around, and then you realize, wow, I have a
Yes.
skill now.
Yes.
And now I need to turn this into something.
Well, I realized a couple of things when I was traveling. Number one was when you actually put yourself out there and tell your story from an empowering place of passion, of like, this is bigger than me. Oh, people will rally around you, because this is the stuff that we are made of. We are genetically wired to respond to powerful storytelling and want to engage with it.
Wow.
Yes. And the second thing I realized, one of the things, I started by telling my own story, but as I was traveling and meeting new people every single day, all I did with my time was listen to other people's stories. And so this was not one story, it wasn't 2 stories. Rhonda, it was hundreds of stories that I sat and listened to. I've sat
because if you're in someone's house, they're going to tell you their story.
I have sat at the feet of some of the most amazing storytellers in the world, and all income levels, all like types of jobs, all cultures, these different cultures, and absorbing story after story after story. I came to this realization that I think has shaped my current life now.
Wow. So where you are now? Yeah, tell us. So this is what you realize. So how amazing. Like 9 months, you're traveling, you have no idea. Boom.
Yes.
What emerges?
What emerges is that everyone on this planet has a story to tell.
Yeah.
And how you choose to tell that story shapes your reality. And that, there's no bone in my body that has doubt about that.
Unbelievable. I love it.
Yes.
And that's what you do now. Now you help others tell their story, build their own business, break through passion projects.
Yes.
And you're also using NLP now as a modality to help them, right?
Yes.
Like clear the things that were blocking them all along.
Yes, because part of what, with entrepreneurs especially, well, I think everyone, but especially what I feel that I've seen and witnessed entrepreneurs struggling with is that they're like, okay, I want a sexy brand. I want a sexy story that I can just pump out into the world, so I can get featured on media, so I can basically get out there and get my name out there, which is all fine and great, but it's only half of the equation. Because for you to have that sexy brand and for it to last and for it to actually emotionally like carve its way into people's hearts,
and to
you need to understand why.
Yeah.
And
believe it, right? Wow,
Yes.
I love that. You and I are going to sit here just after this closes, we're going to sit here and talk about this. I love this. So now that's what you do. This is like part of now your DNA, which is helping others get through it because of the experiences you've had.
Yes.
I love that. Now, how do you do it? Is it through masterminds? Is it through group coaching? Like what is the way that you get this work into people's lives?
I have several ways that I work with people. I work with entrepreneurs, leaders one-on-one to really help unlock that story and be able to understand what are the disempowering stories that are holding them back. How do we, using NLP as a modality, releasing any subconscious, essentially entanglements, limiting beliefs, and then allowing them to create a story from really their heart and being able to make that story be very, very visible in the media because it comes from the heart, how to monetize it, how to get it out into the world in a powerful way. So I do that one-on-one. I also have a group coaching program where I take people through the same process in a group setting, in a community for those people who want to basically be doing this with each other. Because this is a lot, this is heavy. Sometimes it can feel difficult to really unlock that true power within and that true story. So I do bring them in a group setting. I also offer it as a program, a course. And so I have different ways that I love to support people to really help them get from that place of, okay, I don't even know what is my story, or I feel my story is not enough, or I feel that my story is not interesting. What will people think? What will people say? To just bust through that, extract the story, know how to tell it and how to share it with the world. And then that last bit, which is amplifying it and getting it out there in a big way that grows your business, gets you the right audience.
Credibility, visibility. This is something that we, you know, we have a new PR division in our company, and that's a part of why we also are connecting, is helping our clients just elevate, you know, and amplify. I absolutely love this. Where can they find you?
Where can you find me? So there's my website, which is CelinneDaCosta.com. And one of the things to note about my name, it's spelled CelinneDaCosta. So 2 N's to my name. And then on social media, at Celinne Da Costa on all my channels. Big on, I love Instagram. I'm always sharing stories. I love your Instagram.
There. It's fantastic. Well, I'll make sure that everyone gets all of your links.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Celinne. I'm so happy to have you here. I know my audience is going to want more of you, so I'm certain we'll talk again. Well, what do you think? Can you imagine actually discovering that you are breaking inside, that you feel like you're physically going to die, and you push yourself so far that you break out and you decide to travel around the world, and what emerges from that is your true calling, the calling of story, of helping others find their true calling. Can you imagine being able to be so brave that steps out of pain and into passion and pleasure? That's the truth of this conversation today. And I'm so happy to have Celinne here. I want you to make sure that you follow her, because I know inside of you, you've got that exact calling that maybe you're just not listening, that you haven't tapped into what that intuition is bringing you forward. It's time to stop and listen. I'm going to leave you all with this. If you're going to create a brand, create a sexy brand. And if you're going to be anything, be unstoppable. We'll see you all next week. Cheers, everyone. Brand awareness is key in today's modern digital era. And with the rapid growth of social media platforms and the simplicity for all brands to compete on the same playing field, business owners have to start getting creative with how their brand message reaches their clients and customers. Hi, I'm Rhonda Swan, the CEO and founder of the Unstoppable Branding Agency and the Sexy Brand Building Formula programs, where we help our clients create a sexy brand through strategic brand marketing, image, and film. I believe every small business owner deserves to stand out in a sea of marketing messages and make their competition irrelevant with the right brand image, brand message, and strategy. If your brand and marketing is well thought out, but design and images look terrible, no one will take your business seriously. If your design is beautiful, but your marketing message isn't planned out so strategically, it will fall flat on its face. That's where our team comes in. We help our clients restructure their brand image with photo shoots and create a winning combination of strategic brand building through impeccable design and great storytelling through film. The world of business has changed. Because of social media, customers and clients are looking for transparency and connection. A business owner can no longer hide behind a website or rely on their services to attract the perfect client. They want realness, and they want to see the truth behind the brand. As you can tell, we do things differently. And if that excites you, I want to invite you to book a consultation or join us at our upcoming VIP branding retreat, and let us help you turn your brand into a sexy, profit-making machine.